Have you ever watched Scooby-Doo? I mean, really watched it. If you have, then you've probably been as confused as I have been. Usually, a standard Scooby-Doo episode starts with the gang driving somewhere, and a monster appears, though not usually where anyone can see it. Instead, it lurks in the shadows, growling and hissing and generally acting monsterific. And this is the first stumbling block we have to logic in the Scooby-Doo universe. Why exactly would anyone do this? Oh sure, if they were actually monsters it would make sense, but these aren't monsters. These are people in monster costumes. Yet, here they are, prowling around in the dark, acting like monsters when there's no one around to see them. Certainly, it's possible that one or two are method actors and really into their role, but that just can't be true for all of them. And speaking of staying in character, the monsters, or rather people in monster costumes, rarely, if ever, break character. The mystery gang never stumbles upon the monster acting remotely like the person underneath the mask. And even when Scooby-Doo and Shaggy pull their "let's pretend we're barbers" shtick, the monsters go along with the act for at least a little while before realizing, hey, I'm supposed to be a monster. But even when the monster is being tricked, he doesn't act like a human, which he is. But perhaps the big mystery of Scooby-Doo is Scooby-Doo himself. Why does this dog talk? Nobody remarks on this in the show, but clearly, talking dogs are a rarity. In fact, as far as I can tell, the only talking dogs in Scooby-Doo's mythos are the Scooby clan themselves. One can't help but wonder why. Well, okay, maybe one can help but wonder, but not me. Finally, why do the mystery gang keep running across monsters in the first place? Surely this can't be mere coincidence. It's as if fate itself is drawing our intrepid gang of teens into these strange adventures. And indeed it is, as we shall soon see. The secrets of Scooby-Doo begin long before the show starts. Perhaps long before the Scooby clan was even born. My theory, that is. At some point in the past, a person performed a spell that brought dark magic to the earth. This magic manifested in the form of cursed monster costumes. That's right, cursed monster costumes. Really, it's the only sensible explanation. How else can you explain costumes that are so realistic that they can simulate anything ranging from an evil bug from the future, a 10,000-volt ghost, or a tar monster? Think about this for a moment. How can anyone take a wetsuit and a car battery and make themselves into an electric monster? Or a tar beast? I don't care how creative you are, that crap just don't fly. Not without some magic on your side. These costumes were spread around the earth by sinister forces, and every so often a person of questionable moral fibre discovers them. The costumes use their powers to coerce these vulnerable souls, and if the soul is vulnerable enough, the idea of running around in a monster costume to frighten people makes perfect sense. Even though you'd have to be pretty dumb to think that acting like a monster would scare people away. Hasn't worked for Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster yet, has it? So, compelled by dark forces, the person puts on the costume and actually becomes a monster. This is why they never break character, why they enjoy lurking in the darkened woods, and why they can manifest surprising powers such as super strength. It's also why something as ridiculous as projection on a fog bank could fool anyone. It's magic that makes it work. Over time, the costume becomes more controlling. Its eventual goal is to transform the person from a costume into a genuine monster. Often by the time Scooby and the gang are involved, this is dangerously close to happening. This is why, even when caught, the monsters will rarely admit defeat. It's only after their mask has been removed and their humanity exposed that the spell is broken and they become human once again. But here's the real twist. What does any of this have to do with Scooby-Doo, you might ask? Well, you've come this far, so I assume you're interested. The entire Do family is cursed. I don't know why. I don't know if they have anything to do with the magic that unleashed the costumes, or if they just happened to make some powerful enemies. Either way, they were cursed into dogs until all the costumes are recovered. On the bright side, they do become more human as the costumes are found. This is evident with the sliding scale of humanity exhibited by the Do family. Scooby-Dum is less bright than Scooby-Doo. This can only mean that he's perhaps a bit older than Scooby-Doo, and so he has more dog in his nature. While both Scooby-Dum and Scooby-Doo can stand upright in a pinch, both prefer all fours and have obvious speech impediments. Meanwhile, Scrappy-Doo is always bipedal and speaks perfectly. One can assume that if the gang continues to gather more costumes, that within a few more generations the Do clan will once again be completely human. This is why Scooby and the gang are constantly running into monsters, by the way. They are drawn to these suits by the very focus of good and evil. It's an epic struggle indeed. As for Shaggy, Velma, Fred and Daphne, I haven't quite figured out their place in the battle. Perhaps they are merely along for the ride, thrill seekers, or maybe they're genuinely good people out to stop the forces of darkness. Or perhaps there is a more sinister purpose at work, a truly terrifying secret that we dare not explore at this stage. I'm looking at you, Fred and Daphne, but that's for another time.